So hi guys and welcome back to the channel, Paolo here. This is another diecast review of the latest Formula 1 collection in 1/24 scale made by, I think it is Centauria editor in Italy. You know, it's a kind of company that makes these items, surely made somewhere in Asia. This is made in Bangladesh, you know, the finishing is made in Bangladesh and is absolutely designed, I think, after some 3D prints and so on, because it's extremely precise and the line is really well taken, you know. The story about this model is a little bit curious, both for my buying and both for the real stuff, you know. In the beginning I was waiting for this period of the year. This is actually, in the moment I am making this video, is November 22, and I was hardly waiting because, you know, they made a website where they are scheduling the next following issues of this series, you know. So it's pretty cool that you can absolutely choose the subject that you like or the subject that you dislike, you know. And they also allow subscription if you want to make all of them. But for example, in my personal taste, I don't like so much to collect the very modern Formula One car. I took one of two models of them, but you know they have plenty. So, and if you see the scheduling, there is so many cars and pilots. Then don't tell me absolutely anything. You know. Instead, there is some items that are pretty cool. As you probably have seen on my channel back in time, I made a video about the Ferrari 312T from Niki Lauda and Clay Ragazzoni, and that's extremely interesting, you know, both for the finishing, both for the scale. I like items in 1/24 scale. I'm a little bit not so keen in making only, you know, the categories of the scale have been decided some years ago now from manufacturers, and it was Tamiya itself deciding in the beginning that the scale for the Formula One cars should be the 120. So you can find plenty model, you know, the main scale, also because of the quality of Tamiya, that is the main one involved in this scale, is about just around the 120 scale. You know, in 120 they are away between the 118, where the item becomes quite huge, and the 124, that is this scale, where the item is slightly slower. You know, but as you can see from my video, I collect item mostly in 124 with some little degree, some little you know, regressions inside the 125 scale for some American items made by Revel USA, and but you know the difference is mostly noticeable around the wheels and some minor detail. You know, it's not so easy to see them in a collection. I used in 125 scale the Corvette to make my Callaway and so on, but you know, when you change the body shape, when you change the wheels, when you change the proportion of the model and so on, basically it remains, in my opinion, in 125 scale. Yes, there is some part that are compromised, like the windshield and the transparent part, that have to remain in 125 scale, because I don't want people to buy a complete full racing kit. I could improve the size of that part, but then it became completely different and will not fit the parts from the original Revel C7R. Instead, in 124 scale, so it becomes very interesting when you can collect items like this, you know. My original hope was to receive in these days not this model, but the upcoming Ferrari 312 T4, the ugly T4 made by Forghieri, 1978-79. World champion car with Jody Scheckter and so on. So it was interesting because in their website they scheduled 3 or 4 Ferrari, you know, excluding the modern one. I consider already the modern Ferrari, the one driven by Schumacher and so on, so the one after the year 2000. And the previous one for me are personally a little more interesting. So when you see that they have scheduled the 156 from Alboreto upcoming soon, and the 312 T4 upcoming very soon, will be the issue after this, so probably will be the next week or the next week, you know. I will surely take them. But anyway, the guy that provided this stuff to me give me a call, because I had to book them. You know, it's very hard to get the proper item when they are producing a Ferrari or a very important Formula One car. Also Schumacher car, absolutely. Also the modern Ferrari. You know, Ferrari is a bestseller even even in Italy, where everybody loves them so much and the price is so affordable, we are talking of stuff that costs 25 euros, so it's absolutely nothing. As I always say in these videos, for 25 euros, usually you don't get four wheels in this scale, neither a decal sheet costs 25 euros. So it's absolutely interesting to have a complete model, quite well finished. Later on, we will make a little analysis of the model, but I was waiting at the Ferrari, so I was not waiting for this Jordan 191. I decided anyway to keep it because I remember a little bit of the story of this car. It's also nice because when you get the model, you also get a flyer in the original issue from the newspaper shop. In Italy we still have a newspaper shop around the world. I don't know if there is kiosk that sell newspaper like this, but they are a kind of bazaar where you can find a lot of these items, kind of toys also really for kids, and also little more collectible items that for the price range of such shop became a little more pricey because in such places you are expecting just to buy stuff and little toys for €2, €3, €5 maximum. So it's very hard for company to propose an item that is already starting from 25 euros. Is a lot of money in that context. I decided to keep it because the Jordan 191, if you remember, I'm an old guy now, so I remember that in the 90s I had a very, very pretty game for computer that was Formula One GP2. It was the beginning, of all the simulation by computer, and I remember that the season was more or less about these cars. It was, I think, related to 92 or 91 season, so this was a car involved also in that video game. And the most important stuff for me was to remember the story of the unlucky guy that should be the pilot of this model. If you search in internet about the adventure and the life of the unlucky Belgian pilot that was Bertrand Gachot, I don't know if it was unlucky because on his helmet he always keep the European flag, and currently to wear an European flag is a little tricky and a little bit complicated for the situations involved, and you know better than me what I'm referring to. But Bertrand Gachot had an issue with a taxi driver in London and then in jail. He made a real jail because he made a mistake, to overreact to a taxi driver, and he had been arrested. And all his career was fucked up. When he went back to the circus of Formula One, he returned there, but he found a new big guy that was just taken by Eddie Jordan to substitute his mission, from I think it was from Spa 91, if I don't remember wrong, where he really physically had been arrested by police and taken away from the dream life of being a Formula One, quite skilled pilot, because the Jordan was not at all. Eddie Jordan always made a very competitive car. They were always very, very good car, but, was a little minor team, so it was never at the level of Williams, of previously the Brabham, Benetton later, with Briatore Adventure and so on. So it was quite curious because this Gachot entered in Formula One after a real jail. He made it a real, for a foreigner to be placed for a stupid situation inside the real jail. I think for nearly 1 year he made of real jail. So when you are around 30 years old, it is the maximum apex of your career. So you should be here, not in a jail for something that you made. But you find a substitute that was a kind of new guy on the scene that was this one, 7-time world champion and racing legend. Despite I don't like so much the appeal that Schumacher had. Also, when he was driving Ferrari, he tried really, but probably the appeal was not, in my opinion, so warm like other Latinos pilot that we had, like Alonso, that is still so much loved, or like the previous one, the little Canadian Gilles Villeneuve, and so on. So it was a little bit tricky with Schumacher. Very, very good stuff. He was a true champion, so he was there just to drive and just to win, and that was what he did in this fantastic career at the Ferrari. But the guy that was fucked up was Bertrand Gachot. So this should be the car from Bertrand Gachot, not from Michael Schumacher. And of course, for Schumacher was the opportunity to become a little more visible on the eyes of the team manager, and immediately later Flavio Briatore took him back. Bertrand Gachot was already fucked up, so I think he tried with another 2 or 3 team. I don't know if he ended in Andrea Moder, but something minor, but he basically disappeared from the scene. It was sad because the skill of Gachot was absolutely, I think, great, because he anyway was the pilot winning Le Mans with the famous Mazda 787, the model from Tamiya, the nice Charge Mazda orange and green that won Le Mans I think it was even in 91 or 90. I don't remember properly, because I don't remember the year. But anyway, the career was completely done. So the model was anyway belonging to one of that strange histories of the motorsport, the same one that you can find in the story of, we say Bertrand Gachot, but check around for the Gizmondo owner. It's a Swedish guy. I've seen a documentary on the Swedish television about him, and I basically fall in love to this criminal, because they frauded people, so they were criminals, so they have to stay in jail. As well as the story from Andrea Moda. Andrea Moda, racer, I think it was 93 or 94, and read about that. Just don't listen to my stories. Just Google for it, and you will have something funny about about these people. In such platinum war like Formula One is, there is also space for these elements. And the model itself, briefly talking about it at the end, it is not so bad at all. It's constantly absolutely well made. The car is something absolutely particular. I don't think that exists anything in I think neither in 120 scale, maybe something made back in time from Studio 27 about this model, but completely different price range. Studio 27, I think, I don't know neither if it is possible to find them nowadays, if you don't find something inside somebody giving up with a collection of kits and so on. But for me, 124 scale was absolutely interesting. The finishing is not bad at all, as usual, as you can find in this model. We have a quite simple cockpit, with the printed, that is really a nasty detail, it should be worth it to unassemble the model and change it and place some proper bells, Williams, but it's printed over the seat. Is not something that we modelers prefer to be made in real tissue with photo etched detail set, as well as the secondary little mistakes or not so well done details is about the two pins here that were quite characteristic in this Jordan 191. That was probably a support for the rear wing. I think in the real car it should be a little less higher up in the position, but at this time, if you check at the previous video that I made about the Ferrari, I think it was the F2002 or 2003, I took from the same series, where the rear wing was completely compromised, as folder head forward. I didn't want to open the blister because I just want to keep them like a collectible items in this way, so I will never open the blister. For me is meaningless, I just love to have a garage full of these toys. I consider them toys, and for the level of detail and for what you get for the great price of 25 euros, but nothing more. It's not something that you plan to show up in a proper category of real modeler stuff, So instead, in this one, as you can see, the position of the rear wing is absolutely straight and precise, also probably because the help of that pin also in the model make it work. The wheels are absolutely well done. Everything is in Tampograph decal, so they are not a decal water slide like the ones we use in our model. They are printed like a kind of stamp on the model with permanent markings, so you don't have basically any kind of film over the model. The overall finishing is, of course, really well done. Very simple model. It's a curbside model. Some pretty details also in the front end. They had some bolt on the main wing, and the suspension is easy but well done, not too big, not too thick. I think it's something that probably will be available soon also from XO company and so on. I think it's the XO one, the one working in this case, but surely I think with a little different showcase, plastic showcase of proper boxes and so on, will be available on the market, I think, for war, probably at a different price, because I don't know if you can find them in ordinary collector shop or in the circuits and so on, just at 25 euros. Usually they are a little bit more pricey. Consider that when you lose this model and you have to search them after they have been regularly available from the website, it's very, very easy that you pay nearly double, if not 3 or 4 times more the price. I found that the Ferrari from, I was talking about before, of the Ferrari 312T from Niki Lauda and Claire Ragazzoni, already that model is around 80 euros, 100 euros if you find them. So the problem is that if you say no, I will wait because probably there will be some reissues, this is anyway stuff that you have to keep in mind is made somewhere by some guy in Bangladesh, probably paid, I think it arrived in the shops for 25 bucks here. It's something that in the beginning will be sold for less than $10 to have an idea, you know, of the price of this mass production stuff. Is little mass production, but is anyway handmade stuff. So it is not something printed by a machine that you can push a button and say, okay, the machine make another one. No, here you need another guy, and in this specific model, it's absolutely well done. I think about for 10 euros of your time what you get. For me it's absolutely worth it, you know, to buy this. And also the subject match anyway the period, you know. I give myself a limit to the personal interest to Formula One, excluding the Ferrari, you know. I am spaghetti man, I am Italiano, 100% Italiano, 100% thinking like an Italiano. So of course the Ferrari is in my blood, is in my DNA. Despite I am GT40 Model Wars, I like so much the GT40 because it was the only contender to the art of the Ferrari. And of course the Italian stuff come first, then the other stuff, you know. But this model was absolutely interesting for the fact that I told you about Bertrand Gachot, for the fact that it was the first Michael Schumacher real way to show, to prove what he can do with a minor team, you know, that was at Jordan trying with these new guys. And so for me it was absolutely interesting. The model is so decent, like the others, you know. I think it will stay forever in my box, unless maybe I decide to sell them up. If I decide to sell them up, but I don't think so because I have no need to take back this money. So I absolutely suggest you to take it. And another very, very cool item in the diecast collection. And I think another interesting video. So thank you guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you did it, and thanks for watching. See you in the next one.